You ever have that feeling, that spark, that drive you used to have, and you notice it's just kind of fading over the years? I'm here to tell you it's not in your head, and it's definitely not some kind of personal failure. It's just biology. And today, we're going to pull back that curtain and look at exactly why this happens. We're going to explore that biological clock that's ticking inside all of us, and more importantly, what we can actually do about it. I mean, it's the big question, isn't it? Why do we lose a bit of muscle, maybe gain some fat, feel more tired, and just find our motivation isn't what it used to be as the years go by? It can feel like this unstoppable force. But what if it's not? What if the reason behind it all was something we could actually understand and maybe even influence? Because the answer to that question, the reason for that fade, it's your hormones. The whole story of how we feel, how we perform, how we age, it is literally written by these tiny chemical messengers. And you know what? Understanding their language is the very first step to rewriting your own story. All right, so let's start with the hard truth of it all. This isn't random. Your body is kind of programmed for a hormonal decline. Think of it like a predictable biological clock. And, as you'll see, it ticks very differently for men and for women. For guys, this whole thing kicks off around age 30, and it's like a slow, steady drip. Your total testosterone levels start to fall by about 1% every single year. It's so gradual at first you probably won't even notice it, but trust me, year after year, it really starts to add up. But here's the thing, total testosterone is only half the story. The number that really, truly matters for how you feel is your free testosterone. That's the part your body can actually use. And as you can see, that declines 2 to 3 times faster. Why? Well, because a protein called sex hormone binding globulin, or SHBG, goes up as we age. Just think of it like a sponge that's soaking up all your active, usable testosterone. And that is why you feel the drop in free testosterone so much more. Now, for women, the experience is completely different. It is not a slow, gentle slope. Nope. Around age 50, right around menopause, estrogen production doesn't just decline, it falls off a cliff. It's this incredibly abrupt hormonal shift that brings on some really profound changes, and it happens fast. So, okay, we see these numbers going down on a chart, but what does that actually feel like in your day-to-day life? This is where the science gets really personal. Because a drop in these key hormones sets off a whole cascade of dominoes that affects everything, from your brain all the way down to your bones. And that real-world impact is huge, touching pretty much every system in the body. We're talking about that age-related muscle loss, which has a name, sarcopenia. We're talking about that stubborn belly fat, the visceral fat that wraps around your organs, that feeling of brain fog where you just can't seem to focus, weaker bones. And yeah, a libido that's just not what it used to be. See, these aren't all separate issues. They are all symptoms stemming from the same root cause. Your hormones are declining. Let's just pause on this one for a second, because this statistic is staggering. That abrupt crash in estrogen we just talked about, well, it has a direct and frankly dangerous effect on bone health. Without estrogen there to protect them, bones can become incredibly brittle. And the result is that 1 in 2, half of all women over 50 will break a bone due to osteoporosis. This isn't some small risk. It's literally a coin flip. So if hormones are this important, why is there so much fear and confusion out there, especially around treating their decline? Why did a whole generation of doctors and patients basically learn to just avoid the topic altogether? Well, the answer lies in one single study that cast a very, very long shadow. So here's the timeline. Back in 2002, the Women's Health Initiative study, the WHI, published results that absolutely terrified everyone. It linked hormone replacement therapy to increased health risks. The effect was immediate. Doctors stopped prescribing it, patients stopped asking for it. But now, more than 20 years later, the science has caught up, and even the FDA is formally acknowledging the study had major flaws, and they're removing some of its strictest warnings. And here is the single biggest flaw in that old study, the one you really need to know. The WHI study didn't even test the kind of hormones that are commonly used in therapy today. They used older synthetic compounds. We're talking estrogen derived from pregnant horse urine, not the modern bioidentical hormones that are molecularly identical to what our own bodies make. It's like judging all cars based on a safety test of a Model T. It just doesn't make sense. So that old science created these powerful myths that, still hang around today. So let's clear the air. Let's bust some myths and look at what modern, rigorous scientific data actually has to say. First up, the big one, roid rage. The reality? Aggression is only linked to the illegal, superphysiological abuse of steroids. We're talking doses way, way beyond what a body could ever produce naturally. When men with low testosterone are brought back into a healthy, normal range with therapeutic doses, studies show it doesn't cause aggression. In fact, it often improves mood and reduces irritability. Okay, this was the fear that stopped millions of men from even considering treatment. But in 2023, the largest, most rigorous trial on this topic ever, the Traverse trial, gave us a definitive answer. It found no significant difference in high-grade prostate cancer risk between men on testosterone therapy and those on a placebo. The link has been officially debunked by the best modern science we have. And what about desire or libido? So often we're told, oh, it's all in your head or you're just stressed. Well, the biology is crystal clear. Testosterone directly influences the brain's dopamine system. That's the neurotransmitter for motivation, for reward, for desire. When testosterone is low, the brain literally loses some of its chemical spark for desire. So no, it's not just psychology, it's actual neurochemistry. Okay, we've cleared away the myths that create all that fear. Now let's get to the good stuff. Let's build the foundation that creates strength. What can you actually do about all this? Let's dive into the non-negotiable lifestyle habits you have direct control over, and you can start on them, like, right now. Your body makes the vast majority of its daily hormones while you are asleep. If you skimp on sleep, you are directly sabotaging your hormones. There was this one landmark study that found just 1 week of sleeping only 5 hours a night dropped testosterone levels in healthy young men by 10 to 15%. Think about that. That is the hormonal equivalent of aging a decade in just 7 days. Sleep is not a luxury. It is the absolute bedrock of your hormonal health. Next up, get in the gym and lift heavy things. Seriously, heavy resistance training, especially using those big compound movements like squats, deadlifts, and rows, sends a powerful signal to your body to produce more hormones. For this specific purpose, it is far more effective than just doing long, slow cardio. Building and keeping your muscle is one of the most powerful anti-aging signals you can possibly send your body. For decades, we were all told that fat was the enemy. Well, that turned out to be a huge mistake, especially for our hormones. Your body literally cannot produce steroid hormones, like testosterone and estrogen, without cholesterol, which you get from dietary fat. It's simple. If you don't give your body the raw materials, it can't run the factory. This means you have to prioritize healthy fats from sources like avocados, olive oil, nuts, and eggs. And finally, let's talk about the spark plugs for your hormonal engine. You've got vitamin D, which acts like a master switch. Zinc is a critical building block. Magnesium helps regulate that SHBG sponge we talked about, which keeps more of your hormones free and active. And selenium protects the whole system. Getting these key micronutrients is absolutely essential. So let's put it all together. Lifestyle is always, always the foundation. You have to optimize your sleep, your training, and your nutrition first. That part is non-negotiable. But for a lot of people, especially as they get older, that foundation alone might not be enough to feel their absolute best. And in those cases, modern medical therapies are an incredibly effective and safe tool to have in the toolbox. And that really just leaves us with one final thought. We've just unpacked the science of why your vitality can fade, but now that you understand the why, you are empowered to act. So I want you to ask yourself, what energy, what drive, what part of yourself could you reclaim if you truly understood and decided to take control of your hormones?